Moffett, or Doug. Doug Moffett. He has held a lifelong interest in space and has been actively involved as an investigator with UFO Research New South Wales since December 1992. During this time, he has personally investigated several UFO reports, including one he will speak about this morning. Douglas is also the great-great-great-grandson of Australia's first astronomer Lieutenant William Dawes, founder of Australia's first observatory and inventor of the Dawes limit, a formula for splitting double stars, still in astronomical use today. So ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Doug Moffett.
Thank you. Good morning. What should an alien look like? Let's start with the question, is there likely to be other intelligent life in the universe? A recent NASA announcement of what is believed to be a single-celled bacterial life form, organic compounds, and evidence of water in a liquid form found in a Martian meteorite suggests that the Martian evolutionary cycle was running similarly to Earth's 3.6 billion years ago. It is obvious that once fertile Mars was subjected to an enormous natural disaster, probably a large meteorite or comet, that dissolved its chance of being a life-bearing planet. Had it not been for this single twist of fate, we may well have had two advanced civilizations within our own tiny piece of space. We know the meteorite to be of Martian origin because of the unique ratio of gases found in the rock, which act as a planetary fingerprint for Mars. World-famous authority on the cosmos, Carl Sagan, claimed that if confirmed, it would be a glorious discovery of profound implications. In addition, the Galileo space probe's recent flybys of Europa, the largest of the Jovian moons, have confirmed scientists' belief that this moon is the most likely habitat to support life in our solar system. Given its abundance of water, the chance of subterranean oceans are high. The further toward the core of a planet or moon, the higher the temperature becomes. Thus, if we look several kilometres below the frozen surface of Europa, we may well find water in a liquid form within a temperature band of 1 to 50 degrees Celsius, necessary to create and sustain life. All that is now required are the essential nutrients, amino acids, minerals, etc., in the moon's biogeology, the food to create and sustain life. We already know, due to the Martian meteorite, there is a uniformity in the genesis of life in our solar system. So we can assume this genesis to have happened at least 3.6 billion years ago. Given the right conditions and a similar evolutionary cycle, and dependent upon the size of these proposed oceans, there is no reason why the possibility of creatures living in this marine ecosystem should not have reached at least the size and intelligence of dolphins. For if we concede life to be universal, surely evolution is too. In our own galaxy, there are some 100,000 million suns. If we multiply this by the 100 billion galaxies the Hubble telescope has confirmed, we get a figure of 10 to the 22nd power suns in the known universe. According to Dr. Frank Drake, president of the SETI Institute, there are 10,000 advanced civilizations in our galaxy alone. This gives us a figure of 10 to the 15th power advanced civilizations in our universe. Whilst this figure is not a known fact, the figures of the Hubble telescope are, and Dr. Drake is a world-renowned astronomer. Even if you disregard Dr. Drake's formula for determining the number of advanced civilizations in the galaxy, the chances of our Sun being the only one which supports an advanced civilization are 10 to the 22nd power to 1, and that is known fact. To better understand this number, let's imagine a cube. 20 kilometres in dimension, 20 kilometres across, long, and higher. Now, let's fill this cube with grains 1 millimetre in size. Once filled, each grain would represent one sun in the known universe. In relation to Dr. Drake's formula, this equates to a 100-metre cube, with each grain representing an advanced civilization. So just for a moment, think of a 20-kilometre cube filled with grains that side, each one representing one sun in our universe. When you consider 10 to the 15th power advanced civilizations, you think diversity. Diversity on a scale impossible to fully comprehend. When you consider 10 to the 15th power environments, you think diversity. When you consider the wide range of characteristics reported of alien craft, you think diversity. What should aliens look like? Diverse. So how could almost all CE3 reports maintain the alien was basically humanoid in form? Let me first establish what the humanoid form is. I make no apologies for my artwork. A biped is upright, 2 arms and hands, 2 legs and feet, head on top of torso, eyes, nose, mouth and ears in basic humanoid formation, whether they be slits for eyes, round eyes, slits for ears, or whatever. That's basically the formation we're looking at. In an article in New Scientist, December 91, Jack Cohen, a university lecturer in reproductive biology for 30 years, proposed that if animals like dolphins, giraffes, etc., being descended from the same common amphibious ancestor, were also vastly different in appearance, then how likely an alien species with no common ancestors, no common environment, could be basically humanoid in form? The reported Earthling-like aliens, that is, past the one of us, are even more difficult to explain. The chances of 2 civilizations from different planets evolving identically are astronomical. Surely the only explanation for these reports is genetic intervention by these beings perhaps 150,000 years ago. Why? Why would an advanced civilization intervene genetically with a group of primates light years away? If we look to our own history for an answer, it sheds no light. For whenever a technically advanced race has intervened with a less advanced one, the reason has been one of short-term gain in one form or another. Indigenous Australians, North Americans, South Americans, and so on. So why would these beings plant a seed that remains unharvested 150,000 years on? Consider the ancient knowledge of astronomy and engineering held by the ancient Egyptian and Mayan cultures. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza represents 143,200th of the Earth's circumference. The height of the Great Pyramid represents 143,200th of the Earth's polar radius. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built at least 4,500 years ago. The Great Fortress at Sacsayhuaman in Peru contains stones weighing up to 400 tonnes. Most modern equipment have difficulty dealing with 200-tonne stones. These facts, supplied by Richard Heinberg through an article in New Dawn, July-August 96, lead one to think intervention did not stop at evolution, but progressed through to sociological intervention. Consider also ancient cave paintings found in Australia and Europe. Artistically, these beings were drawn or carved in human form, save for helmets and on occasion some form of outer covering for the body. Were these descriptions due to the lack of artistic expertise to explain their experiences? Or were the aliens at the time more human-like and more influential in their society? Certainly the ancients had a closer and more important connection with the universe and nature. They were very sensitive to events or effects of nature, terrestrial or extraterrestrial. Their society is more given to being a part of the universe in a spiritual way than our more technological society of today. A oneness and belonging with the universe which the ancients had would surely have made them more acceptable to a larger universal family. Perhaps this would explain why these images of the ancients' earthling-like beings are in the minority and fearful, unpleasant, grey experiences are in the majority today. One thing is certain, and that is reports of alien contact. As yet, there have been few significant reports of non-humanoid aliens. Two theories. First, that these reported humanoid forms are holographic projections to gently ease us into accepting other life forms. For perhaps if we were to see their true form, even more trauma may be heaped upon the contactee, resulting in increased psychological problems, perhaps beyond breaking point. Second, that the humanoid form is archetypal, because all intelligent life will eventually evolve into that form by necessity. Only this form gives us the necessary upright stance and opposing digits to create a civilization. Without these two characteristics, any intelligent life form would be hard-pressed to do the same. Does a being's destiny determine its appearance? If dinosaurs had not become extinct and continued with their evolution and domination of the planet, would intelligent life on this planet be bipeds with opposing digits and reptilian biology and features? Or are the seeds that were planted 150,000 years ago still awaiting harvest? On another matter, I would like to relate to you an investigation which I was personally involved with that heavily supports the presence of some form of alien robotic probe. On April the 10th, 1994, Mrs. X, who I shall call Pam, heard the 9:30 chime of a neighbour's clock and left to walk to her home, only one vacant block away. Halfway through her walk home, two amber discs, quote, the size of dinner plates, materialised suddenly in front of her about an arm and a half away. The two amber lights entered position over her head. She did not look up, but noticed a white spherical light around her. She raised one leg to run, but was unable to. The two amber lights then returned to their original position in front of her. Pam felt, quote, nothing and empty during the experience. The two amber lights once again took a position above her. This time, though, after a short period, they continued behind and away from her. She was then able to run and entered her home at approximately 9:55 p.m. in a very distressed state. Her husband, home at the time, was able to verify a situation resulting in 20 to 25 minutes missing time. After the event, Pam complained of physical manifestations such as a hot face, although not hot to touch or red in colour. Cold knees. She still had hot water bottles under her knees when I visited her 3 days after the incident. And a vagueness and detachment in her home and work life, none of which she had previously experienced. Pam had not recently begun any new form of medication. Her recent family life was stable and without incident. She had formerly displayed no interest in the UFO phenomenon. Her rendition of the events was in no way embellished upon from the original description I recorded the night after the incident. Pam made it quite clear she did not want any media focus of any kind of the incident. Subsequent medical inquiries I made revealed that while there is a rare form of catatonic epilepsy, whereby a person may be transfixed for a period of 20 minutes or more, these conditions are known early in life and not suddenly acquired at the age of 40 plus. This led me to the conclusion of alien robotic probes due to the lack of any other plausible explanation. Let our future not be limited by what we can see or understand, but rather by what we can imagine. Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Do we have any questions now? No? No questions?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Did that happen in Australia?
Yes, it did. It happened in New South Wales. And to my knowledge, it's the only incident of that form of CE3. I classify it as a CE3 because I think once you've got an arm and a half length away, it is a close encounter of the third kind, although there's very little chance of it being a living form. So it's a form of CE3 that I had not previously read about or heard about.
Can you believe
I believed her because of her reactions, because of the other matters that I brought up there that she didn't want any media focus. She wasn't embellishing upon from the original story. You usually find people who are making a hoax of it or who have some sort of delusional problem can't help but keep stacking it on. You know, and oh yes, and I remember this, and then this happened, and then it came back to me in a dream. And it's an ongoing, growing thing. It's not usual for people to be telling the truth to sort of go to a stage and then not move on from that point. So, for a number of reasons, I did believe her. And as I said, investigating other factors, I really can't come up with any other reason or any other possibility of what it could have been.
Did she undergo any form of hypnosis beforehand?
I offered to organise that for her, but she declined to do that. I think that maybe she was concerned about what the outcome of that might have been. A bit like opening Pandora's box, I suppose, or sort of leaving things as it was. So and she hasn't been in contact with me since then. So she sort of wanted to keep it pretty low key on it. But she was the main reason why I think she wanted to call people in at that time was to try and identify what it was. And I think that's quite common with a lot of investigations that you do. Is that the main thing that people want to know is, well, what is it? That's what people want to know, because people are very awkward with something that they just doesn't fit their realm of experience, and they look mainly to the investigator to tell them what it is, so they don't have to worry about it. Yes.
You said before about hologram.
Holographic projections. Yeah.
I have read one book of a lady who has been abducted in America, and a few people I've spoken to said about holograms. With this hologram image that people tend to believe, do they, people, I've read in books that people who have been abducted, they get paralysed. That's one of their first after they get woken up, they get paralysed. I'm a bit dubious about the image. I believe it's more of an alien that materialises more so than a hologram.
Again, I suppose it comes back to whether we look at what we can understand or not. I don't know if any of you are familiar with a show on Channel 2 that was shown called Red Dwarf, whereby they had a holographic form in that show who was hard light. That is a holographic projection that could feel and touch. Now again, we look at when Gary was talking before about Star Trek and materialising and dematerialising and beaming up Scotty, whether that's maybe something that we're looking at in the future, and maybe it's not too far away from the point. Maybe a comedy show where we've got a hard light hologram, perhaps 1,000 years hence or something like that is not that out of the question. Any other questions? Yes.
What do you think of Fred Hoyle in the theoretical astronomer's work? He's of the opinion that maybe life has been spread throughout the universe by, say, on meteorites or comets or whatever, and seeds of life are actually being carried throughout the universe on astronomical bodies, rather than, say, rather methods which you're proposing.
Well, I think that it's difficult to sort of say which one is which, and it is a coincidence in some ways that there's a single-cell bacterial life form that started off in Earth 3.8 billion years ago. You've got a similar thing proposed on Mars. But on the other hand, how is life going to start off? It's got to start off as a single cell device, the simplest possible device. So I think that if you give the necessary environment and conditions for life to create, then I don't see any reason why it can't be created on any planet throughout the universe, rather than having to necessarily come from one giant seed and thereby pollinating the whole rest of the universe. I think that life can be created individually, the same as we all raise children individually. I don't think it necessarily has to come from one particular area. Yes?
Yeah, I've got two questions actually, as if I can. The first one is, has there been any other correlations done with that particular incident? Has there been similar incidents anywhere else in Sydney?
Not that I have read or heard of.
The type of objects that you're describing? Obviously we're hearing about orange
Amber discs, orange discs, very, very common, but we're talking about something about that size and an arm and a half length away. And most of these common discs or discs that are reported are certainly not that sort of area. You're talking about, certainly hundreds of metres at least 2 kilometres away. That was another interesting aspect of the case, because there is optical illusions whereby something may look 100 metres away and in fact be 200 kilometres away. And we get that sort of problem with the moon and things like that all the time. But in this case, it's very difficult to misinterpret something that's an arm and a half length away from you. Very difficult.
Final question. I recently analysed a video which is very similar. It's got objects, probes if you like, but it's sort of from a larger craft. So these things kind of come out. So there was no other UFO sightings or anything around that time?
No, but the other thing is that she did say that there was a spherical light. She didn't look up because she was frightened, but when she looked down, she saw a white spherical light around her. We have got a case of 20 to 25 minutes missing time as well. Now, in her recollection, it was a case of walking. There's only one vacant block, it's only a house block. So she's probably walking about 2 minutes or less. She gets there, in front of her, up ahead, bang, I'm out of here, home. What took 5 minutes maximum, and yet we're looking at 25 minutes for the period. So we do definitely have a case of possibly. Now, I don't know whether she was the possibility that she may have actually been beamed up somewhere or something like this, but certainly the white spherical light around her indicates maybe something may have happened. But then again, if they're robotic probes of some kind, they may not have needed to. It might have been a case of just going in front of her by that. When you're talking about an arm and a half length away, I think you probably could run a scan on someone from that point of view. If you wanted to do a biological look, you could sort of go up ahead, down thing, and then take off. So maybe there was no necessity, because of these probes being so close and so small, for her to be beamed up at all. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug Moffett.